AITA for telling my fiancé I don't want his last name or his mom at our wedding. Last December, my fiancé, M25, and I, F23, became engaged. The engagement itself was very unexpected, and felt very sudden, as we had only been dating for 2 years since. However, I accepted, as I love him, and I couldn't imagine a future without him in it. Since our engagement, we've had several wedding-related conversations, and I've expressed to him numerous times that I would like to keep my maiden name, and not adopt his. The reason for this is that my parents never had any sons, and I am an only child. I want to carry on the family name for my parents, and I want my children to have the choice of which last name they want to go by and or both. I've expressed all of this to my fiancé, and he complied, and reassured me that he was okay with my decision on the matter. As the wedding draws closer, I received a call from the cake planner last night regarding our cake, which we had met with him and designed a few weeks prior. He informed us that he had a sample prepared for us to come and see, so we drove there the next morning to sample it. Needless to say, I was a bit shocked when he pulled out the cake, which had the words Mr. and Mrs. Smith, my husband's last name, printed on top. Thinking it was an accident, though I had strictly told him just to write Mr. and Mrs. on the cake, I asked him to correct it for the final wedding cake for our wedding, which was in 2 weeks. He informed me that my fiancé had called him yesterday morning and had asked him to include Smith on top, along with the previous initials. On the car ride home, my fiancé informed me that he was not comfortable with me keeping my last name, and that he had had a conversation with his mother 2 days prior, in which she informed him it was feminine, weak, and woke for him to comply to my wishes, and that he was signing himself up for an abusive marriage. Talking with the rest of the wedding planning staff, I found out he also instructed that the table centerpieces, official handouts, etc. all be changed to have Mrs. and Mr. Smith on them instead of our separate last names, with the help from his mother. After our argument, I informed him that I would call off the wedding if he did not comply with my wishes, and that I didn't want his mother attending our wedding ceremony either way. He moved out and refuses to talk to me since. AITA? Edit. To clarify, I gave him the opportunity to do couples counseling as well as agreeing that we could do joint last names on any future children's birth certificates, along with trying to have a rational conversation with him. The argument started when he called me a woke whore for my decision, the one he had previously agreed to, and that's when I told him it may be in our best interest to call off the wedding and ban his mother. The main reason I'm upset is not because of his desire for me to take his last name, but that he originally told me he was fine with it, and then went behind my back and changed things against my wishes. Now the comments. Call off the wedding anyway. You just got a preview of how his mother is going to overstep in this marriage and how he's going to go along with whatever mommy says. NTA, your finance is weak and needs to unlatch from his mother's tit. Next. AITA. That right there is a guy who's trying to marry his mom. Not you. Fuck a bullet, that's a nuke and you best dodge it. Think about how he and his mother will try to control your life and your future children's lives. Run, girl. Run. Next. You don't know after he called you a woke WH-re? You're still in some doubt about your future? You need to check your self-esteem. Unless you find out later he's suffering from some actual mental illness, that right there should be the end. So, not the a-hole. Next story. AITA for not letting my family stay at my apartment because they can't respect my girlfriend's needs? My, 22 meters, girlfriend of 3 years, 21F, has severe PTSD. She's been in therapy for years and has really improved over the past few years. The one thing that hasn't improved is that nights are hard for her and she needs very specific things to be able to fall asleep. She needs every window in the apartment to be closed and locked, our bedroom door has to be locked, she checks the entire apartment 1 to 2 times before going to sleep to make sure everything is how she needs it. The light has to be on and she needs a fan and a heated blanket. From there can't be any loud noises. We don't have anything on the bed or where it can be expected to accidentally make a noise, and we have sound dampening curtains outside our window because if there's any loud noise she'll wake up and I'll have to check the apartment, closets and everything, and convince her that she's safe and can go back to bed. Even with all of this she still has nights where she wakes up screaming or has nightmares so bad that she vomits. We stayed with my family a few months ago and it was horrible. I explained all of this to my mom and she assured me the doors and windows have locks, they can keep the windows closed at night while she's there. They'll make sure there's no loud noises at night, and they have a fan she could use. It was horrible. None of the doors or windows locked, there was no fan, my sister was not quiet at night, and they complained about the light so much that we turned it off. We stayed there for 2 nights and she didn't sleep at all for either of those nights, then had rough days because she wasn't sleeping. On the third day I ended up spending almost $1,000 on an Airbnb so she could sleep. They said I was being ridiculous and that she was exaggerating because there's no way she stayed up for 2 nights. The rest of the visit was okay since she was able to sleep, but they kept making comments about how ridiculous we were being for getting an Airbnb. Now they want to visit our city and stay in our apartment, but I said no because when we stayed with them, it was a shit show and I can't throw her off in her own home. They think we're being dramatic and that if it's that big of a deal she can stay with her sister while they're here. Our apartment is on her sister's property. Her sister built it specifically so she would be able to move out while still having someone right there when she needs help, but I refused to kick her out so they could stay. Now they're calling us ungrateful and saying my girlfriend hates them and I'm taking her side. AITA? Now the comments. NTA. They think we're being dramatic and that if it's that big of a deal she can stay with her sister while they're here. Why should she? They clearly aren't making any effort to understand. They can pay for somewhere to stay. Besides, it's yours and her apartment. Kudos to you for standing your ground and supporting your GF. Next. Beyond not making any effort, they lied to him about accommodation when they went visit. And they are basically calling her a liar when they say overdramatic. Which I bet they would say is me being overdramatic, but if they don't believe her or you, they are calling you liars. Next. TA, hosts don't need to understand. They either provide, or you don't need to stay with them. Your family didn't provide, you had to leave, end of story. You can't provide what they want, which is to deny all of your girlfriend's needs in her own home, so they don't stay with you. End of story. They were bad hosts and lied to you. You are smart to refuse to host them. Yeah, we have a rule that you only get to lie about accommodation once. We used to take our dogs with us when we traveled. We were happy to get a hotel or stay with my husband's family, but my mom insisted she was ready for us. She wasn't. At all. We haven't stayed with her since. That was 18 years ago. So, not the a-hole. For more stories please subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thanks.